Hi, I'm Jim Morgan. I'm the producing artistic director at the York Theatre Company in Manhattan, and I'm down here in Dallas at the Documentary Arts production facility with two longtime friends and collaborators who are working together on our next production at York. It's called Texas in Paris, and they are called Alan Govenar and Akin Babatundé, both of whom we had the pleasure of working with a few years back on Blind Lemon Blues. Alan, are you excited about what we're up to?
I'm very excited. I'm energized. We've put together a great cast, Tony Award winner Lillias White, Scott Wakefield.
Akin, are you buzzed about the whole thing?
Oh my God, yes. You know, it's a wonderful, the theater. If you're a theater technician and you're working on something that's new and I think different.
Very different.
Very different. You know, it's like a gift. So I feel like we have a gift here that we're all playing with and molding for everyone's appreciation.
So Alan, the show we're talking about is Texas in Paris, and you're pretty integral to the whole thing. How did it come about? And tell us about the story.
Texas in Paris is based on true events. It focuses on two performers, Osceola Mays and John Burris, who I met in the early 1980s. Neither of them were professional singers. They were both people who carried on musical traditions that were intrinsic to their life and background, and I was invited to come to Paris to bring them and another performer to do a show.
It's a fascinating story because it was not a scripted show. It was them essentially sitting on stage and singing, occasionally speaking.
It became, for me, I thought of it as being the theater of being yourself. These were such distinct personalities that the way they dressed themselves and presented in that lighting and that setting for that audience was very much musical theater.
But this new show is not just recreating that show that you all did in Paris. It's about the backstory.
This show, Texas in Paris, is not a documentary, but it's my imagined relationship that evolved between Osceola and John. How did they go from being these two isolated people who would never have met in Texas to becoming people who connected and developed a kind of bond in Paris? And I started thinking more about it, and I realized that in many ways, John and Osceola were a metaphor for America as it is today, particularly as it relates to conversations about race, the inability of people to talk about race openly.
So this setup of these two people who would not ever have the chance or probably want to talk to each other in their home environment, being thrust into this alien world where they had to one extent or another, is a fascinating microcosm of what's going on in our country today.
Absolutely.
And it spoke to you.
Yeah, it did speak to me. And I like that thing, that the unlikely meeting of these two uncanny individuals coming together and having an experience that will transform their lives.
Thank all of you for watching out there. I look forward to sharing the show with you at the end of January 2015 at the York Theatre Company in New York City. As they say down in Texas, y'all come.